Live in HD from the station that brings you more West Texas news. News West 9 Weekend starts now.
Miles of scorched earth. Fierce flames rip through West Texas. Thousands of acres have burned. These are pictures of the massive grass fires that ripped through the basin this weekend.
It's dealt a devastating blow to farmers, ranchers, and families who tonight don't have a home to return to. Fire crews have worked nonstop to put out the flames. This evening, hot spots continue to flare up, but in one town, the fire is still out of control. Fort Davis is still a war zone tonight for fire crews. That blaze is not anywhere near contained.
Around 9 this morning, some people who were evacuated were allowed to go home. You can probably imagine that sick feeling in the pit of their stomachs, wondering if they had anything left to return to. Victor Lopez shows you what they were met with.
We're scared to go back and see what has happened and what's gone.
The Balmoral High School gym turned into a shelter for evacuated Fort Davis residents after a major wildfire sparked west of Marfa and made its way toward and into the town.
We have a lot of resources, including 5 of the 7 heavy tankers that are available in the United States. This fire is priority 1, not only in Texas, but in the United States right now.
The resources include the U.S. and Texas Forest Service, Border Patrol, Department of Public Safety, as well as local and area fire departments. Their number one objective is life safety.
We're still in incident response. This is initial attack still, no containment on these fires, and the weather conditions, I hate the term, but are in the fire's favor.
For Fort Davis residents that evacuated Saturday night, the uncertainty of what waited for them Sunday morning was more than they could bear.
To get my grandkids and my daughter out of harm's way. And I kept going back to see what I could see because I wanted to see, but I finally left. And now we're just scared what we're going to go see.
Members of the junior high track team hadn't been home or seen family for over 24 hours.
I was afraid that my house might burn down or something.
That everything's okay and everybody's all right.
For the coaches, they knew where their responsibility lay.
To take care of the kids.
Go ahead.
The safety of the kids.
There was an estimated 40 to 50 structures damaged or destroyed, little running water in town, and no hope of electricity for some for at least 1 week. Fort Davis schools will be closed on Monday. Superintendent Larry Butler says after that, they'll just take it one day at a time.
When people lose their homes and all their belongings, it's rather difficult, but to be thankful that they have their lives. We will rebuild, regroup, and the good Lord willing, we'll get back to where we were.
The Texas Forest Service is still on the scene in Jeff Davis County, monitoring those flare-ups that occurred earlier this morning. They recommend that if you find yourself in the path of oncoming fire, get out immediately. They also ask that you stay off the roadways as much as possible to give fire crews a chance to get to where they need to get quickly. Reporting in the studio, Victor Lopez, News West 9.
Well, it has been an exhausting firefight, but tonight crews have a bit of a handle on that huge grass fire in Jeff Davis County. So far, it's charred an astounding 80 to 100,000 acres.
Victor Lopez went back to Fort Davis today to show us what folks out there are dealing with. Although they still have no electricity or water, there is some good news for residents tonight.
We are back in Fort Davis once again, and you can see behind me over my right shoulder, that the Texas Department of Public Safety actually has the entrance of Highway 17 between Fort Davis and Balmoral blocked once again, just as they did Saturday when these fires first broke out. Now, the reason this is blocked off, there have been some other resurgence or some other spark-ups of the fire up along that mountain line, and just the area all around us right now is heavy and thick with smoke. You can see up in the sky, up along the ridge of the mountains, is just a thick, heavy cloud of gray-white smoke. That smoke extends all along the upper ridge of the mountains and on into and around, specifically the Fort Davis State Park. We were up there just a few moments ago, and we were told by Texas Forest officials that we could go up there if we wanted. However, there's not going to be anything to see because the entire canyon and the entire valley is just covered and flooded with smoke, and this smoke extends all the way into downtown Fort Davis. You can walk down the street and all you'll see is just this heavy cloud, this heavy curtain of smoke. And as you go on outside of town on Highway 118 going into Alpine, there's some serious concerns out there. That's another area that the Texas Forest Service is looking to contain. There are several out-of-control grass fires. In fact, on our way into Fort Davis earlier today, we saw some grass fires up on the mountain, up on the ridgeway, and those were about maybe 75 to 100 yards away from the edge of Highway 118 itself. Now, Texas Forest Service says that they have about 150 men and women from all across the country out here battling these fires, and they are just waiting on all the resources that they have asked for to come in to help them continue to do so. Now, there is a little bit of good news for the people here in Fort Davis. The American Red Cross has come in and done a damage assessment, and there is a reduction in the estimated number of damaged structures that we were originally told. Before, they had said that it was between 40 and 50 or 60 homes that had been damaged or destroyed. According to the Red Cross now, that number is much lower. In fact, there have only been 16 homes and about 8 other buildings, non-livable buildings, that were affected by the fire. Now, keep in mind that this fire, the Rock House fire, is only 40% contained at this time. Resources are in from all across the country, keeping an eye on things. News West 9, of course, will also continue to do the same thing for you. For now, reporting in Fort Davis, Victor Lopez, News West 9.
More than 100,000 acres later, fire crews in Jeff Davis County say they finally have a handle on that Rock House fire. But they're not out of the woods just yet. Victor Lopez and Chief Photographer Jay Vigil were back in Fort Davis today as they found out county officials say they have their work cut out for them, but they're staying optimistic.
Emotionally, it's just an incredible situation to see a community just come together.
With a little help from Mother Nature, the 150-plus firefighters were able to turn the tide on the Rock House fire, taking it from 40 to 60% containment.
The winds have died down from 40 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour. It went from the southwest to the northeast, so it blew the fire back on itself and prevented further spread to the north.
The view from one of the areas first affected shows not only the extent of the damage and what was spared, but also what is still a very dangerous threat.
The fire operations today will be focused on a line of fire between Cascade Mountain and Star Mountain to the north. There's a line about 22 miles of mountain range there, which are burning.
Although they have not placed a dollar figure on the amount of damage caused by the Rock House fire, county officials say they were lucky. The end result could have been much worse. Now it's just a matter of picking up from this point and continuing to move forward.
Something like this is going to have an economic impact. We'll just have to wait and see on that too, but hopefully people will still come to Fort Davis. It's still the most beautiful part of Texas.
One way to do that is a combined effort to help those who have literally lost everything. Fire officials are pleased with the progress on all fronts. However, they aren't ready to say when the Rock House fire will be fully and completely under control.
We're confident in our plan. If we don't get any surprises, either with the weather or the terrain, I still don't know when we're going to get finished up with this.
County leaders and residents aren't going to let this get them down. They're keeping a stiff upper lip and facing the situation head on.
We're a tourist area, and people aren't going to come to look at black, but we're still going to be here, and we're going to be in business, and we're going to be Fort Davis.
Reporting in Fort Davis, Victor Lopez, News West 9.
Meanwhile, handfuls of volunteers are helping folks in Fort Davis with food and other necessities. As Victor Lopez found out, a local nonprofit has been there since the beginning and planned to weather out the storm. Victor.
The Army is known for helping out the needy in their own backyard. This week, they stretched out their hand of giving a little bit further, this time going out to their neighbors in Fort Davis.
A day. We're looking at about 2,400 to 2,500 meals that we've served.
Lieutenant Stephen Correa and his crew were first on the scene in Fort Davis on Sunday. In the last 4 to 5 days, he says he's seen the morale make a definite 180-degree turn.
Sunday we noticed that people seem emotionally and spiritually spent. Well, now, if you look around, the community is coming back alive. The spirits are much higher, and as such, the community is pitching in themselves to help support the disaster relief effort here in Fort Davis.
The Odessa Salvation Army has received a lot of help from many different people and groups in their efforts to give these tired and hungry firefighters and residents one less thing to worry about.
The response to the Salvation Army of Odessa and the Southern Baptist Convention has been overwhelmingly grateful.
Among the meals being served on Wednesday was lunch for all the students of Fort Davis ISD. This was their first day back at school since the fires broke out on Saturday.
A lot of stories, a lot of emotions, hearing their parents, hearing friends talk about the things that have happened and people that have lost their home.
For the next few days, students will attend short days from 10 to 2 to ease them back into a normal schedule. That begins again on Monday.
Monday and Tuesday we missed. I've already called TEA. We will be applying for a waiver for those 2 days due to the disaster in the community and the surrounding area.
The Odessa Salvation Army will be in Fort Davis until Thursday evening. Then they'll head back home.
Serving the meals today and tomorrow, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. At that point, we're expected to be released after the evening meal tomorrow.
Like all Fort Davis residents, Superintendent Butler is extremely grateful for all the help they have received from each and every side.
It's amazing how people respond. West Texas is just a phenomenal place to live, and the people are there at the top.
Now, all the food prepared was purchased with money by the Salvation Army from Odessa. Now they are graciously accepting any and all cash donations to help them refill their coffers. That way they can be ready to help again whenever they're needed. And people have been calling and asking, and just to let you know, the McDonald Observatory in Fort Davis is now reopened to the public. Live in the studio, Victor Lopez, News West 9.